Welcome back. So, did you miss Oladuah Equiano, or Gustavus Vassa, as he is also known? Well, we're back to the interesting narrative of the life of Oladuah Equiano, or Gustavus Vassa. I'll continue. It was now between 2 and 3 years since I first came to England, so now he's in his teens, a great part of which I had spent at sea. So I became inured to that service and began to consider myself as happily situated, for my master treated me always extremely well, and my attachment and gratitude to him were very great. From the various scenes I had beheld on shipboard, I soon grew a stranger to the terror of every kind, and was in that respect at least almost an Englishman. Yes, I'm going to let him go with that one. I've often reflected with surprise that I never felt half the alarm at any of the numerous dangers I've been in that I was filled with at the very sight of the Europeans, at every act of theirs, even the most trifling, when I first came amongst them. And for some time afterwards, that fear, however, which was the effect of my ignorance, wore away as I began to know them. I could now speak English tolerably well, and I perfectly understood everything that was said, and now not only felt myself quite easy with these new countrymen, but relished their society and manners. I no longer looked upon them as spirits, but as men superior to us, and therefore I had the stronger desire to resemble them, to imbibe their spirit, and imitate their manners. I therefore embraced every occasion of improvement, and every new thing that I observed I treasured in my memory. I had only wished to be able to read and write, and for this purpose I took every opportunity to gain instruction, but had made as yet very little progress. However, when I went to London with my master, I had soon an opportunity of improving myself, which I gladly embraced. Shortly after my arrival, he sent me to wait upon the Gurins, who had treated me with very much kindness when I was there before, and they sent me to school. That is a Miss Gurins. While I was attending these ladies, their servants told me I could not go to heaven unless I was baptized. This made me very uneasy, for I had now some faint idea of future state. Accordingly, I communicated my anxiety to the eldest Miss Gurin, with whom I was become a favorite, and pressed her to have me baptized, when to my great joy she told me I should. She had formerly asked my master to let me be baptized, but he had refused. However, she now insisted on it, and he, being under some obligation to her brother, complied with her request. So I was baptized in St. Margaret's Church, Westminster, in February 1759, by my present name. I don't know if it's Olaudah or Vassa, any one of them. The clergyman at the same time gave me a book called A Guide to the Indians, written by Bishop of Sodor and Man. On this occasion, Miss Gurin did me the honor to stand as my godmother, and afterwards gave me a treat. I used to attend these ladies about town, in which service I was extremely happy, as I had thus many opportunities of seeing London, which I desired of all things. I was sometimes, however, with my master at his rendezvous house, which was at the foot of Westminster Bridge. Here I used to enjoy myself in playing about the bridge stairs, and often in the watermen's wherries. A wherry is a boat with other boys. On one of these occasions, there was another boy with me in a wherry, and we went out into the current of the river. While we were there, two more stout boys came to us in another wherry, and abusing us for taking the boat, desired me to get into the other wherry boat. Accordingly, I went to get out of the wherry I was in, but just as I had got one of my feet into the other boat, the boys shoved it off, so that I fell into the Thames, and not being able to swim, I should unavoidably have been drowned, but for the assistance of some watermen who providentially came to my relief. Thank God. The neighbor being again got ready for sea, my master with his gang was ordered on board, and to my small grief I was obliged to leave my schoolmaster, whom I liked very much and always attended while I stayed in London, to repair on board with my master, nor did I leave my patroness, Miss Gorin, without uneasiness and regret. They often used to teach me to read and took great pains to instruct me in the principles of religion and the knowledge of God. I therefore parted from those amiable ladies with reluctance, after receiving from them many friendly cautions how to conduct myself and some valuable presents. When I came to Spithead, I found we were destined for the Mediterranean, with a large fleet, which was now ready to be put to sea. We only waited for the arrival of the admiral, who soon came on board, and about the beginning of the spring of 1759, having weighed anchor and got under way, sailed for the Mediterranean. And in 11 days from the Land's End, we got to Gibraltar. While we were here, I used to be often on shore and got various fruits in great plenty and very cheap. I had frequently told several people in my excursion on shore the story of my being kidnapped with my sister and of our being separated, as I have related before, and I as often expressed my anxiety for her fate and my sorrow at having never met her again. One day when I was on shore and mentioning these circumstances to some persons, one of them told me he knew where my sister was, and if I would accompany him, he would bring me to her. Improbable as the story was, I believed it immediately and agreed to go with him, while my heart leaped for joy, and indeed he conducted me to a black young woman, who was so like my sister that at first sight I really thought it was her. But I was quickly undeceived, and on talking to her I found her to be of another nation. While we lay here, the Preston came in from the Levant, and as soon as she arrived, my master told me I should now see my old companion Dick, who had gone in her when she sailed for Turkey. I was much rejoiced at this news and expected every minute to embrace him. And when the captain came on board of our ship, which he did immediately after, I ran to inquire after my friend. But with inexpressible sorrow, I learnt from the boat's crew that my dear youth was dead, and that they had brought his chest and all of his other things to my master. These he afterwards gave to me, and I regarded them as a memorial of my friend, whom I loved and grieved for as a brother. While we were at Gibraltar, I saw a soldier hanging by his heels at one of the moles. I thought this a strange sight, as I had seen a man hang in London by his neck. At another time I saw the master of a frigate towed to shore on grating by several of the men of Water's boat, and discharged the fleet, which I understood was a mark of disgrace or for cowardice. On board the same ship, there's also a sailor hung up at the yard arm. So I guess he's also showing some of the brutality that white people had against white people right there, especially at sea. So that's interesting to note. After lying at the Gibraltar for some time, we sailed up to the Mediterranean, a considerable way above the Gulf of Lyons, where we were on one night overtaken with a terrible gale of wind, much greater than any I have ever experienced. The sea ran so high that, though all the guns were well housed, there was a great reason of fear their getting loose. The ship rolled so much, and if they had it, must have proved our destruction. After we had cruised here for a short time, we came to Barcelona, a Spanish seaport remarkable for its silk manufactures. Here the ships were all to be watered, and my master, who spoke different languages and used often to interpret for the admiral, superintended the watering of ours. For that purpose, he and the officers of the other ships who were on the same service had tents pitched in the bay, and the Spanish soldiers were stationed along the shore. I suppose to see that no depredation were committed by our men. I used constantly to attend to my master, and I was charmed with this place. All the time we stayed, it was like a fair with the natives, who brought us fruits of all kinds and sold them to us much cheaper than I got them in England. They used also to bring wine down to us in hog and sheepskins, which diverted me very much. So he's now a drinker. The Spanish officers here treated our officers with great politeness and attention, and some of them in particular used to come often to my master's tent to visit him, where they would sometimes divert themselves by mounting me on horses or mules so that I could not fall, and setting them off at a full gallop, my imperfect skill in horsemanship all the while affording them no small entertainment. So they were using him like entertainment, a toy, like they would use animals to ride on a horse. After the ships were watered, we returned to our old station of cruising off Toulon for the purpose of intercepting a fleet of French men of war that lay there. On Sunday in our cruise, we came off a place where there were two small French frigates lying in shore, and our admiral, thinking to take or destroy them, sent two ships in after them, the Culloden and Conqueror. They soon came up to the Frenchmen, and I saw a smart fight here, both by sea and land, for the frigates were covered by batteries, and they played upon our ships most furiously, which they as furiously returned, and for a long time a constant firing was kept up on all sides at an amazing rate. At last one frigate sunk, but the people escaped, though not without much difficulty, and a little after some of the people left the other frigate also, which was a mere wreck. However, our ship did not venture to bring her away. They were so much annoyed from the batteries, which raked them both in going and coming. Their topmasts were shot away, and they were otherwise so much shattered that the admiral was obliged to send in many boats to tow them back to the fleet. I afterwards sailed with a man who fought in one of the French batteries during the engagement, and he told me our ships had done considerable mischief that day on shore and in the batteries. So I'll stop here. Very exciting if you think war is fun. I don't, but I read it in an exciting way. Also, I just like to see him not in actual grueling slavery and having this kind of experience of traveling and not seeing the real horrible side that other children saw. Tell me what you think. Thanks so much for listening.